All right, now let me introduce Mr. Hewlin Bivens, who is our current state librarian, and we are delighted that he's come from Alabama via South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming to be back in the South with us. And he's going to introduce the speaker tonight, Mr. Bivens.
I'm impressed. You only have to be here 6 months and you're within seconds of a service award. It's really strange. You're from Maine. Linda Lord is a great personal friend. Linda Lord, who is the State Library Director of Maine, who is really super, has been a friend for years and years and years, and that's wonderful. And then I find out that our guest speaker tonight is from Montana, which is that state next door to North Dakota, and we had the opportunity to do lots and lots of cooperative programs between the two states because nobody else knew we existed. Indeed, we did more cooperative things with Alberta and Saskatchewan than we did with other states. So it's really an interesting thing to see the diversity of this library school in the far reach. So congratulations, Sam. It's my privilege to introduce our guest speaker tonight, who is Pamela Wright. And in December of 2012, she was appointed by our National Archivist as the Chief Information Innovation Officer. In this position, she leads the agency in the development of innovative ways to share the National Archives' extensive holdings with the general public. Ways that have been accomplished include the so-called Innovation Hub, which is a facilitating of the development and the launch of cooperative projects, working to raise and meet the public challenges and to form partnerships with the archival community, industry, and academic institutions. Now that's a lot of words. What it basically means is freedom of information has never, ever been stronger, and that's something that's important to us. Ms. Wright started at the National Archives in 2001, and prior to the 2012 appointment, she served as the Chief Digital Access Strategist and launched many of the initiatives that if you go to the website you will probably take for granted, one of which is the Citizen Dashboard. She has made records available and easily accessible using crowdsourcing and other mechanisms. She edits articles. They have been quickly uploaded. Accessibility has probably never been better. Indeed, it hasn't been better. As I mentioned earlier, she originally from Montana, where she has her bachelor's degree in history and English, and she has a master's certificate in project management from the George Washington University. Let us all welcome into our midst one who has been willing to share for our benefit her extensive experience, proven leadership, and innovative spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Pamela Wright.
So good evening, and thank you so much. Thank you to Sam and Kim, if she's still here, everyone who helped bring me here tonight. I feel really honored to be here. I kind of wish I had awards to give out, but I'll try to follow up. It's an exciting night to be with you, and I'm glad to be talking with you about our work at the National Archives. I just want to give a little caveat that this is in no way comprehensive. This is just a stream of some of the innovation that's happened at the National Archives. There's so much more, there's so much going on, but I'm here tonight to give you a flavor of what's going on and why it is so incredibly exciting to be working at the U.S. National Archives these days. I came to this job with the perspective of a researcher. You know, before I worked at the National Archives, I worked for about a decade as a researcher for a private consulting firm. So I know what it's like to want to look at the records that we hold, and I know what it's like to have to go through the processes to look at those records. And I think that helps kind of ground me in where we want to go with access. When I first came to the archives, I worked in initial processing and declassification, and it was like every day was like Christmas because you open up boxes that haven't been looked at in 20 years. You don't know what you're going to find. You get to describe them, process them, make them ready for researchers. I have to tell you, I still miss, I go back and want to do that a lot. That's some of the funnest stuff to do at the National Archives. Oh gosh, I guess I'll start out with just saying that if you're on Twitter, so am I. I'm at Pamela SW, and if you follow me, I'll follow you. So let's start with that. Okay, so I bet you know that we have the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, but you may not know some of the other records that we have, including one of my favorite records, my grandfather's homestead land entry case file. He was a homesteader in Montana, and one of the only times I've ever seen his signature is on a document from the National Archives. So it's a great place. The mission of the National Archives is to preserve and provide access to the permanent records of the federal government, and we do have a lot of records. And I show up 12 billion textual records, but let me break it down just a little bit. I won't numb you with numbers, but it's just to give you a sense of the scope of the records that we have. 93,000 motion picture films, 5.5 million maps, charts, and architectural drawings, about 207,000 sound and video recordings, 18 million aerial photographs, 35 million still pictures and posters, and more than 4 billion electronic records and counting. Whew, so it's a lot. In the 20th century, access meant providing a researcher a copy of the records or the original document, and they came into the research room. We also had microfilm copies. You could call in ahead of time, but essentially the idea was you came into our room and we provided access to those documents. Maybe about 10 years ago, we added another layer of access to that with the web. We had PDF finding aids available, and our online catalog at the time was in its infancy, so a little tiny bit of a percentage of our records you could look up in the catalog and see where they were. Well, today, access means digital access on top of all those other ways to get access. And it means not only coming to our website anymore, it means going out where people are online. Access today is not an endpoint for our agency, it's foundational to engagement with the public, and it's foundational to providing value to the nation. It means working together with the public, other institutions, and across our offices to engage citizens with our records. And it means the smart use of social business tools to make that happen. Okay, so, I guess I'll go this way. So I'm an archivist, so I have to give you a little background, a little context to things. That's the way I work. Two things happened in 2009 that made it a watershed year for the National Archives. On January 21st, 2009, the administration issued the Open Government Directive, and it said the principles of transparency, participation, and collaboration form the cornerstone of an open government. Transparency promotes accountability by providing the public with information about what the government's doing. Participation allows members of the public to contribute their ideas and expertise so that government can make policies with the benefit of information that is widely dispersed in society. And collaboration improves the effectiveness of government by encouraging partnerships and cooperation with the federal government, across levels of government, and between government and private institutions. When David Ferriero became the Archivist of the United States in 2009, he set out to change the culture of our agency to align us, sorry about that. I don't know how to, there, okay. To align us with these open government principles of transparency, participation, and collaboration. And actually that goes hand in hand with the mission of our agency. Our work rests on the belief that citizens have the right to see, examine, and learn from the records that document the actions of their government. We believe the records management is the backbone of a transparent and accountable government. So you're asking, what's the culture change then if it goes hand in hand? Well, essentially, I think a lot of this work is turbocharging our mission. Through the use of new social media tools and platforms, Through a reorganization of our agency, through a new strategic plan, we are breaking down the internal barriers among our staff and the barriers between our agency and the public. We're moving from this how can we help them mentality to a how can we work on this together idea. And further, we're giving ourselves permission to experiment. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so this is kind of my representation of urgency. So when the archivist first came to the National Archives, I was very proud that we had a blog. He came and we already had a blog, so I thought he'd be very proud of the work we did. And he was very complimentary about the blog, but he said something that kind of just threw me back. He said that everybody in the agency should be participating with the public in ways that we just hadn't done before. And one blog was good, and it was a corporate blog, but what about lots of blogs? What about trying to do new things? What about getting access out there in ways we haven't ever done before? And it kind of blew me away. So the good thing about the archivist is he's eager and anxious to do things, and the bad thing about the archivist is he's eager and anxious to do things, which is wonderful. We love him. So this is what leadership looks like. The archivist was the first individual from NAR to have a blog as a representative of the agency. He has thousands of followers now, and he tweets out a message when he blogs. So you can follow him if you're on Twitter. He's at dferio, and that's how you spell it up there, if you want to follow him. Okay, so on the, when I was kind of thrown by the whole blog idea, let me get it going. One of the things he asked me was, Pam, when you're online, where do you go to look for information? I mean, if you're going to be really honest about it, where do you go to look for information? And I Google everything. And then often I wind up looking in Wikipedia. If you want that snippet of, how many people live in Columbia, South Carolina, you can go look in Wikipedia. And he asked me where my daughter, she was 16 at the time, where does she go? Absolutely, Google and Wikipedia. I have an older sister in her late 60s. She looks in Google and Wikipedia. So the question is, why aren't we, making sure that we're working with Google and Wikipedia? And so in 2010, we got our first Wikipedian in residence. We were one of the first cultural institutions to do so. Dominic McDevitt Parks was a student who came to work with us and did some amazing work building bridges with the communities of Wikipedians and staff from NARA. In 2014, we made him a full-time employee, and I think we're one of the first institutions to do that as well. And we're taking seriously the work of putting information in Wikipedia. Later in this presentation, you'll see why this winds up being really important. But Dominic, pretty much single-handedly put 100,000 of our images from our catalog into WikiCommons and has been doing scan-a-thons and edit-a-thons and working with that community to bring our information into it. Again, this is what leadership looks like. This is David Ferriero on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in Washington, D.C. He's in a basement with Wikipedians. And I promise you that women can be Wikipedians. I'll get a picture of one. I noticed that this is an all-male picture, but there are women that do Wikipedia, and they're wonderful. And so this is one of the scan-a-thons that we had. So after talking with him for a while, we decided that we started to do more projects. We started to really branch out in social media. We wanted to make sure that we had an overarching strategy. We created one that really relies on open government principles of transparency and participation and collaboration, and really started to make this a program that we could use across the agency. So these are some stats. These are hot off the press. This happened in FY13. As of this year, we have more than 160 external projects on 15 different platforms. Everything from Flickr, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, all kinds of things. 53 million views on social media platforms in FY13, but I have to say I think FY11 is that watershed year where you can see the red line indicates how many people came to us on archives.gov, And the blue line is how many people are coming to us on various social media platforms. It's just kind of an amazing path. I should say that does not include Wikipedia. These are the platforms other than Wikipedia on there. Okay, all right, so this is where I'm going to preach a little bit. Oh, before I leave this slide, I should tell you, on this last point, we started something called an internal collaboration network within the agency to start breaking down barriers internally. I'll show a slide of that and talk a little bit more about that too. Okay, so this is Radiant Orchid. It's the Pantone color of the year. And it's beautiful and it's perfect and it's supposed to represent one voice. It's this concept that we've gone from, that we've had in the past, what I feel like the revolution of providing access from our agency is going from this idea that we have to have one corporate voice and it needs to be polished and perfect. And I think that's about control, that controlling the messages has been in the past extremely important. And for good reasons, I still think it's important. I think there's a fear of staff saying something wrong. I think there's a fear of the public saying something back to us that's going to be terrible, and how will we handle it? And I think ultimately underlying that is a really good reason to be afraid, and that is a fear of hurting the brand. You know, you want to do things that make your organization look good. You want things to be very thought out. And I see that over the last few years that we've been doing social media work and working in new ways for access, that we're thinking about this idea of one voice in a new way. And I think that's revolutionary. And so so this was supposed to show one voice, okay. So this is what I think we're moving to. This idea of a tapestry, a chorus of voices. Yeah, it can't be a cacophony. We can't be, everybody singing their own tune. We need to work together, but to allow people to have their own blogs and their own ways of talking to the public and showing the public their deep knowledge of a specific area within our agency and our organization, I think is really exciting and far more interesting than kind of the plain perfect voice. So it kind of looks like a quilt is what I'm thinking of it as. And how do you deal with all those fears there? And those are legitimate fears, of what we're going to do with the brand. So the fear of staff saying something wrong, we do training. We have to learn to trust staff. We need to keep talking with them. So it's an ongoing relationship as we learn to speak to the public. And the fear of the public saying something wrong, we have good policy. We have crowd correction, which has just amazed me at times when you're thinking, oh, I must answer this person, and someone else comes in and does a fabulous job. And then also keeping professional. So when somebody trolls one of your platforms and says terrible things, a professional response can actually enhance your brand because you're treating them with dignity and respect. So that fear of hurting the brand, that can be paralyzing, and I think at times it's been the thing that slows us down from innovation. But the brand is no longer the product. We're realizing that our brand is not just the copies, the records themselves, but it's the quality of our engagement with our users. So the brand is the quality of our engagement with our users. That's a revolutionary concept for us. Authentic, active engagement with the public is really the best branding we can do. So here's a really cool example. So there's this guy on my staff. Oh, he's really neat. Let's take it back a little bit. For years, for like a decade, we had today's document as a feature on archives.gov. And my first year at NOAA, I read it every single day, and it was very exciting because it's got a little treasure from the archives every single day. So the second year I read it, it was still good, but some of them looked kind of familiar. And by the third year, I knew it was a repeat. And like by the fourth year, you're just like, take it down already. It's had its time. So I said, when I finally got the web under me, I said, we're either taking that thing down or we're going to make it great. We have to do something with it. And one of the guys on the web staff really liked, was really interested in it and wanted to revitalize it and thought that it really hadn't gone to its potential yet and really wanted to dive into the content of our records and start pulling up some great stuff. And he started to play with it, and it became really fabulous. Then in discussions with some of our particularly younger staff, they said there was a platform called Tumblr, which if you're on it, one picture per day is it's a great platform for that. It's very good for one-off visual things. So he started it on Tumblr, and just within a very short period of time, he had 20,000 followers. So we knew, we had the right mix of the platform with the content, and it just started to take off. And what was really neat to see, what I was really excited about in working with him, I should look at my notes, I'm just going to tell you, is as people started to respond and follow and kind of get into it, he got really excited about it, and he started to get more staff into it. And people are just doing it for fun, and you hit that sweet spot of somebody doing what they really love to do, and it's on the right platform, and it's hitting the audience that really likes what you're doing. It's just this energy that makes work every day really fun. So now he has, I think it's 150,000 followers. He's been featured on Tumblr Radar, which is where they show off the best stuff, 17 times over the past few years. We were just recently featured in October of 2013 in Time's 30 Tumblrs to Follow. So it's this wonderful combination that I seek in all of my staff to find what is that thing that turns that flame on inside them, that they love, that the public relates to, that we can work together on. This is the ICN, the Internal Collaboration Network. It's a shot of it. So what we said is we have all of these regional offices, we have presidential libraries around the country, and we have our hierarchy, and people need to find ways to talk to each other. And it's really scary to allow people to just do that in an open forum. And so we started it as a pilot, and we got our lessons learned around it. We did a lot of policy around it. We made sure it was a good thing to do before we launched it. And once we started to launch it, so what happens at first on these kinds of platforms that we're seeing, this is what I'm learning as we do it, is people do the cat and dog pictures. This is my dog, and it's my cat, because it's low. It's not scary, and people then go, "Oh, your dog is so cute," and then they get a little excited because they got positive feedback, and then maybe they'll say, "By the way, I'm working on a project, and does anybody have these records?" "Oh yeah, I've got these records over in Seattle," and then they can start doing real work. So I've seen the maturity of this platform over the past year. It's been so exciting. We started out with just a couple of hundred people, testing the waters, seeing how it would work, and now we have about 2,200 staff on it, using from across the country. About 1,000, a little under 1,000, use it very actively each week. So the day that I thought this thing is really cool is when somebody, I think it was in Fort Worth, said that they were looking for records for Girl Scouts. It was a Girl Scout 100th anniversary, just not that long ago. And people across the country were just chimed in, "Yes, I have these records over here. Yeah, I have these." And it was the first time we were ever able to really just talk to each other in real time about where the records were and things that may not have been described and things that were digitized, things they could offer each other. And then people that I didn't expect to say it started saying, "I was a Girl Scout," and that humanizes them. So you go, "Wow, geez, Doris was a Girl Scout. She's kind of cool." And you get to know them a little bit more. So it's really breaking down those barriers in ways that we just haven't seen before. It's very exciting. It isn't just about the technology, though. There's policy that needs to go around it. There's a culture change that's happening that technology is helping to have happen. But it isn't just about the tech. Okay. I'll take a drink while you guys read this. So what I love about this quote is the second sentence in particular. It means recognizing that government does not have all the answers, and that public officials need to draw on what citizens know. And that's a step beyond access. That isn't just putting up our stuff in front of people anymore. That's working with people. It's a two-way street with citizens now. And it's not just for their comments. It's about working with them and seeing what kind of contributions they can make. And so this is, again, the maturity of social media and of really social business tools. So we created the Citizen Archivist dashboard that you mentioned up at the top. And this is what it looks like. This is why I wanted to have PowerPoint, because it's kind of pretty stuff and I like it to look at. So this is our call to action. One day, all of our records will be online. That's our big, hairy, audacious goal, the BHAG, that one day we will get our textual records all online. It's 12 billion, so I've got job security in this goal. But we're asking the public to help make it happen. This is where we're seeing that social media and crowdsourcing isn't fluff. It's becoming an important part of how citizens participate in and with their government. It's getting at participatory democracy in new ways, and it really helps us make our records accessible. So, as a portal for citizen archivist activities at the National Archives, this dashboard promotes specific crowdsourcing initiatives designed for the general public and specific groups such as researchers at the National Archives. The dashboard centralizes information about crowdsourcing activities that are available on all kinds of sites. I'm site neutral. I don't care if it's on my website or on anybody else's. If you want to do tagging, here's the ways you can do it when you work with our records, or anything else with them as well. So the dashboard is really meant to promote and elevate the visibility of citizen archivist activities and encourage dialogue around the development of future activities. So we're going to go through just for a little bit to show you. So this is our call to action for tagging. We have about 100,000 images on Flickr, and we have hundreds of thousands of tags that the public have put on that. So you can go into Flickr and tag if that's the preferred platform for you. And then we also have tagging in our online public access catalog. And I think this is one of our World War II posters. We've got some great ones. And you can see with the red arrow shows where the public could tag in our catalog. That is a little clunkier. And here's what I know about working in the federal government. If you build it yourself, it's pretty clunky. But if you work on somebody else's platform, you can get the whiff of all how cool they are. So when we're on Tumblr, you get that right. In our catalog, it's clunky, but people are with us and they're doing tagging, and I feel like they're doing it because they know it's goodwill toward us. We're going to refine this and make it better. So that's why I kind of want to do it in both avenues, on both our stuff and on other people's stuff. We also have a call for transcription. So we have 12 billion textual records. A whole bunch of those are handwritten documents. Handwritten documents, for the most part, aren't very searchable. We don't have a lot of time on our staff to actually, describe at the series level, let alone transcribe a particular document for you. So we started to put transcription possibilities for transcription up. Here is an example from Wikisource, one of the suite of Wikimedia tools that are available for people to use. This is an elegant, sophisticated tool, and so we've put some of our records up there, and people can use that tool if that's the kind of tool they want to use. It can be a little bit intimidating for the novice, but it's a beautiful tool, and it's really well done in Wikisource. So that's not the only tool. We created something called Transcriber, and it was one of my students working with one of my staff created an open source Drupal tool. And it's really simple. It's a super duper simple, as simple as you could get. That was our kind of our mantra in building it. And it was a pilot project. So here's the story. This story, at the end you'll feel like people are all good and life is good. So we put 300 documents, 1,000 pages into this tool, and we put it by beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And it was mostly how difficult is it to read, just so people weren't bummed out by really difficult documents in the beginning. We had some really easy ones. and we put it online. Let me just see. Oh, I'll show. Here's an example of a particular page. So you can see the page of the document. This one looks kind of hard, actually. And in the bottom, in the bottom is just a plain old text box, and we just say on the left-hand side, "What do you see?" We made it as simple as you could do, and then people can just type in the text box, and they can save it and say it's complete. But even if they say it's complete, other people can come in and edit it. And then we have a comments tab so you can argue with each other over whether it's an S or an F. And we kept it just really simple. I loved that when one of my staff said, "Why don't we just say, 'What do you see?'" I thought that it's the least sophisticated of tools. And then we threw in, some foreign language stuff. And so this is the Alaska Purchase Treaty ratification. And this is in Cyrillic, and the tool can't handle that. So one day, the transcription showed up in the tool, and we were like, "How did that happen?" Because the tool can't do that. And somebody, an anonymous person, went in and did it, and then cut and pasted it and put it into the tool. And then they translated it. So people are cool. And we were stunned. And there's a bunch of French documents in there too. I mean, it's amazing what they did. Let me just say, this is on Drupal. We also shared it. And we know that other institutions have taken that and turned it into some great stuff. So this idea that we're sharing on a level we've never shared before, tools that can help provide access for other institutions, it's been the coolest journey ever. All right, so I told you that we put 300 records, 1,000 pages total, into the tool. And at the end of week 1, I asked how it was going, and the staff were saying it looked good, and I got in there and played on it. Here's why I knew it was good. I am a middle-aged lady that has no memory, and my passwords kill me. I have a list of passwords, and then I can't remember where I put the list, and so there's no password for this tool. And so I could go in, at 10 o'clock at night and go play. So I actually contributed to this, where I don't to a lot of things, because you got to remember your password. It's a killer. It kills me. They've got to come up with something better than that. Anyway, so I knew it was going good. I felt good. So at the end of the second week, I asked how it went, and the staff person came in and said, "It's done. We're done. Everything's done." So in 2 weeks, 1,000 pages transcribed, stuff we could never do ourselves. People have been asking me, when are you going to keep it up? We can't feed the beast fast enough. People transcribe it before I can get it up. It's been an incredible journey and a really fun tool to have. Okay, so here's some basic thoughts on next gen of archivists. This is what I think, and I'm willing to bend on this, and if anybody wants to tweet me about if you have an alternative view, that's fine with me. So here's what I'm thinking. This combination of the understanding and love of the content, historical information, the records that we have, that needs to be combined with an understanding of technology. And I'll use a car as an example. I don't expect people to have to know how to build a car, but you have to know how to drive one. And it's that idea of you don't have to know all the tools out there. You don't have to be a coder, but you should know what the different platforms can do for you for access. Combining that with the understanding of the audience. So in Pinterest, who are you reaching when you get on Pinterest? 19 to 35-year-old women tend to dominate. What if over on Twitter, what are you doing? On LinkedIn, on all of those kinds of tools. And then I have to say, too, that as far as we go into the future and doing advanced work, I still really believe, stronger than ever, that best practices and theory that has already come is crucial to our understanding of archival records and important, even more so, in the digital age. So I feel like we're going back to possibly a golden age of subject matter experts that are going to be able to talk very deeply about their records and the archival context of those records, because these great new tools will be able to get that stuff out there. So it's an exciting time. I see that a lot, don't I? It's an exciting time to work. All right. So this is encouraging people to upload their photos. So there's people in research rooms all across the country that are taking digital scans of our records. What if we could harness that and get it into the catalog? You know, there's issues around that. It's frightening to people to think, oh, you just let anybody put anything up there. But there's policy that you can put around that. And there's ways that you can display it so that you can give credit to the citizen archivist and ensure that the public understands what comes from the National Archives and what comes from citizen archivists. But we're looking into those kinds of issues. There's a lot yet to do with that. We've already started a citizen archivist group on Flickr, and they've been uploading like crazy to that platform. This is just the coolest project. So we're working with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and they are very interested in studying climate change. And so we have Arctic ship logs from the turn of the century, from the 19th and early 20th century, handwritten ship logs. We're getting those transcribed, and they're studying it for the different climate information that's in those logs. So it's really exciting to contribute to citizen science and work with other agencies that do that stuff. And then the 1940 index. Oh, there's like a 20-minute story to that whole one, but let me just give you in a nutshell. We partnered with FamilySearch.org to transcribe the index. The index for 1940 was handwritten, 132 million names. You know, you can use the ED maps to find information. It's kind of a route to get there, but you know what people want to do. They want to go online, and they want to type in a Ted Aker, which is my dad's name, and you want the census page to pop up. That's what people want. So we had the name index, and we knew people wanted to use it. Because of restrictions on the census, you can't, people can't work with it before it goes live online. So in April of 2012, the gun was shot, and we had to get going on writing that index. We partnered, like I said, with Family Search. In the first 2 weeks, they got 235,000 volunteers who indexed more than 14 million records. So 14 million is great, but we got 132 million total, and we just thought it's going to be quite a while. So we'll just sit back and let them, and people got excited about doing it, and let them do it. The project was completed in 5 months. We just can't, we'd never ever do that. If it was the National Archives on our own, you'd still be looking up your ED map, and it's amazing stuff. All right, so this is it. These are the people that are excited to work with us. This is us. This is us looking in a mirror, really, right? In his TED Talk on social media, Clay Shirky said that we need to be building power tools for the obsessives. Let me say that again. We need to be building power tools for the obsessives. We need to be building power tools for the obsessives. It's about engagement with the public, educators, historians, genealogists, veterans, people who are obsessed with our records. I want to build them power tools so that they can work with us. Social media is a tool for an engagement and a platform for building communities around those records. This is what the Open Government Directive was getting at back in 2009. This is really what government of, by, and for the people is about. Okay. Switching here. All right. So this is what it feels like every time I start a new project at the National Archives. And what's really cool about David Ferriero and the Open Government Initiative is that it has allowed for a culture that allows for risk. I just have to say, I spoke in Bulgaria just a little while ago, and I spoke to a very somber group of people, and they were wonderful. I had some slides. This happened to be one of the slides, and man, they just cracked up. They loved this slide. So I thought, it's a good slide. If the Bulgarians like it, anybody else. I'm being recorded. Okay, so the problem is the next slide has nothing to do with this slide. I want you to know that they have nothing in common. So don't worry that this was like what happened to the cat. It isn't. This is a wonderful, beautiful picture of failure. If you don't fail, you probably aren't being innovative. And if you want to tweet anything that I said tonight, I'd love you to tweet that one. If you don't fail, you probably are not being innovative. Sometimes the projects that we work on give you incredible opportunities, and I feel very blessed that I've had an opportunity to work with enthusiastic staff who love what they do. And this is a 3D project gone awry. So one of my staff came into my office kind of with, like, it looks like a dead mouse, I don't know, and there were several staff in my office at the time, and they're looking at you as a leader to see how you're gonna react. And it's a joy and a gift to be able to say, good for you. You know, you went and did something that was beyond what we were able to do. And it's okay. It means that we're innovating. This is an opportunity for leadership anytime that there's risk or failure on a project. You know, I would just call out any leaders in the audience to think about how you react to failure, because it means everything to your people. And the look of relief on her face when I went, yeah, this is innovation, was priceless. And I hope I get that opportunity again. All right, I'm losing my voice again here. So this is what it looks like. Ooh. Yeah, so how are blue octopi related to what you do at the National Archives, Pam? And sometimes I think people think innovation is little blue octopus, you know, like, what do you do? It's fluffy stuff. But it actually isn't. This is the 3D project that we're working on. And the question is, how can this kind of work advance the mission of the agency? That's really the question you need to ask. So we got 3 3D printers and we sent them out across the agency because I didn't know how it would relate to what we do. And the presidential library staff, who work on artifacts quite a bit and have to build custom boxes with bumpers, said there might be a use here for creating bumpers on the fly that are relatively cheap, and we could do it in-house and pretty immediately. Something I would have never thought of. And I have to say, innovation across our agency is remarkable. And although I'm the Chief Innovation Officer, in no way is it about me or my staff. It's about uncovering it across the agency. Okay, so I saw this on Pinterest. I hope this doesn't offend anybody. The other night, and this happens every time you try to do something new. You get questions about what it is, and you know, whatever platform you're trying, whatever project you're trying, will we all be geniuses from it? Will it make us all morons? Will it destroy the agency or industries? Will it make us more empathetic? Will it make us less caring? And will teens use it for sex? I just got asked that about Vine. And the answer is, were they going to have sex anyway? And does mom want to know? No, I don't want to know anything. Anyway, I thought these questions are what you get when you try new things, but the real question that should be asked every time you do an innovative project, whatever organization you're in, is how can I use this to advance the mission of the agency or of your organization? What is it about this that I could take and make and ground it in the mission of what we want to do? So here's my tips for doing innovative projects wherever you are. Think small. Put boundaries around the project with lessons learned at the end. So if it fails, you have a product of lessons learned. It's okay that you learned something and you can move forward quickly. It makes everyone feel better if you have something at the end of that project that said, oh, we learned all these lessons. And it's important to do that. You know, we start almost everything that's really interesting in our agency with a pilot, and it makes the comfort level easier for everyone. You know, when you do move pilots into larger projects, the really cool part is you've got all this under the radar experience where no one's looking at you, and you're getting all of this learning done so that when it does go live and it's big, you're there, you're ready, and you have some experience under your belt. I would never start a major project now without some kind of pilot to begin it. All right, so the proof is in the pudding, and this is the views that we have. So the little tiny black dot, if we only stuck with our online catalog, if we didn't repurpose our records across different platforms, we'd get about 7 million views in 2013. And then you can see it just going out on the different platforms that we've used. Our digitization partner websites get huge hits. But here's the Wikipedia story that I told you earlier I was going to tell you. We have the top 4,000 digital copies from the National Archives that are embedded in Wikipedia articles today. that just the top 4,000, we have 100,000 in there. Only the top 4,000 got 1.274 billion views last year. It just blows everything away. No wonder David Ferriero said, why don't you check out Wikipedia? It's amazing what you can do with these tools. It's mind-boggling, and we're really glad we've been part of it. Okay, I'll take another drink and let this get going. You know how that is where you think you're really good? Yeah. So we've made a great start, but we have a long ways to go. We need to digitize our holdings, like I've said, and we've made some changes in the structure of our organization for efficiency. We're looking at prioritization of those records. We're talking about updating our digitization strategy. We need to have some APIs from our catalog for easier sharing of our data, so we're really interested in working with groups like Digital Public Library of America, which we get now about 2 million views into our records thanks to them, and that's that repurposing of work that's already been done. We're also interested in data.gov and, of course, Wikipedia. We have some other crowdsourcing efforts. We're launching a program to subtitle historical videos right now, pretty exciting. We're bringing on board 2 Presidential Innovation Fellows we have been given from the White House. And you just know they're like 17 and 18 years old from San Francisco or something, and they're going to blow our minds on whatever they do. We're just going, yes, do it. We get them for 6 months, and we're guessing that they'll be bored by month 2 and want to do other things. It'll be great. I can't wait. And we're developing other crowdsourcing tools to help unlock government records. So here's what I really think. I don't know if you know anybody who gambles online, but when they do, they get really, they can get really addicted, and they know other gamblers. They can be friendly with other gamblers, and they all know who's up and who's down on the points. It's the game of it. They know who's got. I want NOAA records. I want a platform for NOAA records where people are addicted to wanting to work with us. That it's so, I don't want them to neglect their children, but I want them to just not be able to help themselves and work with us. That's what I want to reach into their lizard brains and make them do it. Okay. And I don't know if you've seen this. I'm not sure I can make this work. This is a risk. I'm taking a risk. And now you can decide whether or not, if it flops, how you can react to it. So, should I try it? I'm worried, will the sound go boom boom if I'll turn it off, or somebody run up and help me okay. So I'd like a little sound, but not much. Or no sound is fine. No sound? Okay. I hope something happens. Yeah. So there's that happy song. It's, that song? Some of you guys, some of the... Yeah. Yeah, what is it? What's his first name? That's it. Happy. He did this amazing thing. He made the first 24-hour video with that song. And you don't get really sick of it. I did maybe hour 3, I got sick of it. But I couldn't stop watching it. Why couldn't I stop watching it? Because you know what? It isn't just him. He picked 400 people in LA, some famous, some professional dancers, and then just regular people. And oh my gosh, the regular people are so fun to watch, right? They dance for the 4 minutes of the song. So when he does it, it's a video, you've seen those before, boring, right? And then a really great dancer that you've never seen before comes on and you can't stop. And then some really poor, doofy guy comes on and you gotta watch the whole thing. This is crowdsourcing. This is the future. And you can go to it and see anywhere in the 24 hours he does it on all kinds of, let's see if I can. And I wanted that tune to kind of take me out. But are you gonna do it? What? Anyway, the idea that he used regular people to see what it would be like and what kind of interest he got. And can you see how many views he's gotten? 8,800,000. One happy song for the National Archives. We have 400 people that can dance poorly. We could do, I don't know. I think we could do something like this. So this is I feel like is really the future, and it's exciting to work at the National Archives. And I just wanted to thank you so much for having me here today. It was really fun to talk to you about it.